Broadcasting live from the command center located in Jacksonville, Florida, this is Military Witnesses to UAP. I am your host, Shannon Scott. And backed by popular demand, located deep in the Missouri woods, my right-hand man, Rob Heatherly. We both have assumed the duties and responsibilities of continuing the conversation. So, buckle up, hold my beer, hang on, and let's get started with today's briefings. Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was in the military for a little shy of 4 years. I wanted to re-enlist, but they ended up medicaling me out instead. Since then I've went on to graduate from college. Now I work for another government agency. But so at the time that this incident occurred, I was 20 years young back then. Oh no, wait, I was 19. I hadn't turned 20 yet.
What year and what location?
So this occurred very early in the morning on January 5th, 2000 at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois.
Very good. And then what was your rank? Obviously you was Air Force, and what was your rank at the time?
I was in the Air Force. I think I was an E4 at the time. And I was the desk sergeant on duty that night for the base police.
You worked with DOD there?
Yeah, I was active duty Air Force.
Yeah, you were active duty, but did you have DOD contractors?
No, we did not have DOD contractors.
It was all Air Force, right?
Correct.
A lot of the Navy, it's like 70% of it is DOD and mastered arms, like myself. We take up the rest, but in case anything happened, we have an auxiliary security force that are activated, and they come from different commands to come support us. I'm going to guess you and I have one thing in common, in that we went to school at the same location, Lackland Air Force Base. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's right. They also have military working dog school there. They have corrections there. And I actually turned down military working dog school because I saw I'm really good at seeing my future, and I saw it without my wife because I would be shipped overseas immediately. Now, if I turn down the school, hopefully I'll get the aircraft carrier, in the same location that I've been for the last, I don't know how many years I've been in the Navy then. I think it was 8 or 9 years at the time. And I wanted to stay. It worked out, and here I am, and I'm been happily married for 80 years now, it seems. So, yeah. So tell us about what happened that evening, Eric.
All right. Well, I was, like I said, I was working the midnight shift that night. I wasn't used to working the midnight shift, so I was really tired. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. Someone came on the radio and said that they saw some lights out in the sky, and I wasn't entirely concerned about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as there wasn't anything strange over the Air Force Base, that I didn't, I just told him to let me know what he saw. And right about that time, the phone rang, and it was one of the local police departments.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
And they asked me if we had seen anything in the sky, and I was like, "Oh, this is starting to get a little interesting."
Eric, real quick, do you remember the name of the agency that called you?
I don't remember which agency it was. Okay. No.
So they called you and say, "What's going on up there?"
Yeah, they called me and said they saw some lights in the sky, and they said that one of their officers thought that it might have been a C-5 flying really low with its cargo door open, which I thought was an incredibly strange thing to say, right? So, of course, I was concerned that maybe there was some sort of an aircraft in distress. So I got a hold of the air traffic control tower. We had a direct line to them. I asked them if we had any aircraft in the sky, and they said that we did not. And they said that there was nothing on the radar, but that they could visually see something out there. They just didn't know what it was.
The thing is, if they have the door open and light is coming out, then they're actually violating like some rules of the road. Just like a ship out at sea, they have 5 minutes prior to sunset, they have darkened ship where all the sailors, who are responsible to do so, have to go out and turn off passageway lights to the red lightings, because the red spectrum is a shorter wave and it doesn't people can't see it from a distance, right? So same thing with aircraft. You just can't be going around with big doors open and lighting, confusing obviously people on the ground and air traffic around you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. Obviously, that would be, a problem, because if a C5 is flying and the cargo bay door is open, that means that they have lost control of part of that aircraft.
that individual reported to you that they saw something, and after the local law enforcement called you and asked, "You got anything going on?" What did you do next, Eric?
So I got back a hold of the guy on the radio that said he'd seen something out in the sky, and I got a pretty good location of where it was. He said it was off to the southwest of the installation. So I borrowed a patrol car, and I drove about a quarter of a mile until there was a turn in the road so that I could see in that direction. And then I saw something out there in the sky.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that thing was.
Yep.
What was that? What was the estimated altitude of it?
It's really hard to say because it was nighttime, and I couldn't quite tell exactly how big or far away it was. Those large aircraft, large aircraft like a C5 can kind of deceive your eyes, right? It looks like it's a lot smaller but closer to you. But I'd say it looked like it was about 1,000 feet in the air and maybe 1 to 2 miles away from the installation.
What exactly did it look like again? I'm trying to visualize this.
I could clearly make out three lights on the bottom that made a kind of a triangle pyramid shape.
Okay.
And then if it was a pyramid, on one of the sides, it was lit up like it was the side of an office building.
And how tall was it on the side?
It was maybe a third as tall as it was wide. And, if we're saying C5, which is about the right size, I think that's, over 100 yards.
That's big as a football field, you saying?
Yeah, C5 is, yeah.
Wow.
Was this anywhere near Highland, Illinois?
I'm not exactly sure where Highland was. It would have been close to Shiloh and Belleville.
There's a sighting in 2000 near that area too, kind of coinciding with what we're talking about, with multiple non-calls. We could follow up on later.
What I've been observing through my years, sounds like I've been doing it for a long time. It's only been like 5 or 6 years I've been doing this, but it seems like whatever this stuff is, it seems as if they do reconnaissance, especially if there's a nuclear assets at the installation. They like checking those out, making themselves known that they're there. And sometimes they, as you may have not heard, they tamper with the devices itself, whether it's the Minuteman intercontinental freaking missiles,
ICBMs.
the big boys. Yeah, they'll shut them down. They're all independent silos, and they shut them down as if they were all connected, which is
they knew all the sequence codes, and in at least one instance they turned them on. The official conversations I've heard on this in Russia, they turned them on, but they never mentioned turning them on in the United States. But the book UFOs and Nukes talks about where they did turn them on, which was really alarming me because that was the first I'd heard of it in the United States.
Yeah, and there was nothing on the radar at the time, and that it obviously should have picked up something on the radar that was that large, right?
Weren't you in communication with the tower?
Yes,
right?
I had already talked to the tower, and they said that there was nothing on the radar and that there were no military assets in the air.
And did they see the light at all?
They did. They said they saw it visually, but they didn't know what it was.
That's the desk sergeant. Did you log it all in?
I did not. So, I wasn't much of a believer in UFOs, right? As a young man, I just, just kind of, didn't think too much about it. But, I didn't really want to get, laughed out of the seat, I guess. I just figured that.
I understand that.
Yeah, I just figured
being
that if I
law enforcement, you almost have to be a cut above than the normal airman because your position, you law enforcement basically.
Credibility
right?
is everything. Your word.
Yeah. Yeah. Did your base? Did you know if your base had any nuclear assets?
We shouldn't have. No.
Okay.
There's no nuclear assets assigned to it. We didn't have any sort of increased security or anything like that.
You would have
If there was,
that.
we were totally unaware. Right.
Oh, very good. So you're watching this, and what exactly did this object do after you were watching it, and then what does it do?
So the object really just appeared to sit there. I didn't even notice that it was moving at all. Now I only sat there for 30 to 45 seconds looking at this thing. Mm-hmm. And then my priority was to get back to the desk, to have command and control, to make sure that no matter what happened, that we were going to take care of the people on that base.
Yeah, that's
lock it down and light it up.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add to your statement today, Eric?
No, that's about it. I think that I'm kind of new to learning about all this stuff. I had actually never heard anything about this incident after that, but I ended up watching I forget what they call it. There's a new documentary that they have out from some guy that used to be DOD. And so it sounded pretty legit. And then towards the end, they started talking about
would that
this
individual incident. be a guy by the name of Lou Elizondo?
Yes, that would be him. I watched his documentary, and about 3/4 of the way into it, they start talking about this night when the cops were chasing a UFO over Illinois, and then it came close to Scott Air Force Base. And then I heard them say that that the base said that there was nothing in the sky and nobody saw it, which was true to a point for their knowledge, right? That probably came in through the public relations folks, and they wouldn't have had any idea that that we saw this thing out there because we didn't annotate it anywhere.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar, Rob. Lou El Dorado.
Yeah.
Oh, come on!
I can't remember.
Have you ever heard of that guy before?
That. Yeah, I think I know that guy.
Yeah, I think I might know that guy too.
Was it Unidentified, the show?
Yeah, that's what I watched.
Unidentified, yeah. 2 seasons.
Eric, what's so neat? Rob and I are real good friends, but before we were friends, we both are friends with Lou Elizondo before we became friends.
Oh, really?
So that's in a small world, right?
Interesting.
So, yeah. First of all, Eric, you have one thing that Rob and I do not have, and we don't have our own experience. We're just we just reporting what we're hearing, and we're hearing a lot of great things these days. But I got into a little background on me. I got into this because I served on board the USS John F. Kennedy twice, once in 1998 to 2001, and then a year right up to its decommissioning. And both times that I served on board that ship, from 2 different individuals, I heard of a UFO case where there was a UFO above the ship. A sailor went crazy. He had to be sedated. And I kind of forgot about the whole thing. But right after the 2017 release of the Tic Tac, Go Fast and Gimbal videos came out, I happened to put in the search bar on YouTube USS John F. Kennedy decommissioning because I wanted to watch the video. And somehow I ended up watching, there was a video of a guy who gave a testimony about watching this UFO above the John F. Kennedy It turned out to be late July of 1971. And so I became very interested in it, and I started investigating, like you would as a patrolman. I started looking for more witnesses. So I actually took that video off YouTube, or, copied the link, and I went to a Facebook page, a Facebook group page for veterans from the John F. Kennedy, and I pasted it in there, and I said, "Has anybody heard of this?" And I got a hit, and the guy told me the entire story, plus a lot more. It was unbelievable, shocking that he actually witnessed the sailor being sedated. He talked to the captain. He had to do I think it was 8 o'clock reports, and he goes in there, and the captain asked him. It says, "So did you enjoy the light show last night?" He says, "Yeah, sir." And the captain says, "Whatever happens out at sea stays out at sea." And he goes, "Yes, sir." Come to find out that the ship actually lost power, and they did go to general quarters for several hours until they teletypes, all communications went down. It was, I think it's the biggest story that came out since the 2017 Nimitz encounter. And since then, Rob and I have we've been doing some investigations. I have an investigation. The second one I'm doing is about a young Marine who witnessed a UAP crash in Peru. He was taken by men in black camis, and his life was threatened. And we're investigating that. When I say we, Rob Heatherly has done a great job investigating that and has come up with a lot of information that we still turning rocks over. We're going to get down to the bottom of what happened in Peru back in the early 90s. As far as I know, that's the last known crash of a UAP. And if anybody out there in the audience knows of one that's happened since then, I'd love to hear it. This is why we're into what we're like the motto says in the opening of the show, that we're here to continue the conversation. And we say that, Eric, because Lou Elizondo is the one who started the conversation. And he's not out there anymore. In fact, with pretty much the last ones is who's done an interview with Lou. And congratulations, you're the first person that we interviewed. It's technically second, but the conversation in the video with us and Lou was more like we were just talking like friends. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Just
okay, gotcha.
everything. Because I've listened to obviously everything Lou has to say, and I don't have any questions right now.
Yeah, we didn't want to have an interrogation, obviously, of friends, and I interviewed him myself about half a year prior to that. It was more of a conversation than anything, because I just wanted to know who the person was, how this has affected him, his family, his private life, because no one seemed to ask those questions or even care to ask. They dehumanize him and don't realize that he's paying a price for this as well.
Yeah, I got to admit that as someone kind of new to this whole thing, that I would have told you 5 years ago that guy must have been crazy. There can't be anything to that story. But with things like the Tic Tac and Go Fast video, I mean, we know now that there is something physical. We have proof of that through all of the different types of Navy sensors, that there is something physical out there that we can't explain, and that to me is a pretty big deal.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming on today and telling your story. And we hope that you stick around and continue checking out our channel and just enjoy
the ride.
Enjoy the ride, and don't take things too seriously. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah. It was nice to tell somebody this story, since it kind of fills in some gaps of what's been known.
So I'm going to research and see if I can find any corroborating police reports or sightings anybody's turned in MUFON or wherever, to see if we can help give some further validity to your testimony on that, because I'm sure for your sake you would like to have more evidence if it's out there to back it up. So if there is, we'll find it. Nice. Yeah, well, we find something.
Yeah. All right. Other than that, folks, thanks for watching our second interview. And until then, make sure you hit that like and subscribe and hit that notification. And I got word that some of our viewers are not getting notifications. So unsubscribe, subscribe, and, undo the notification button and hit it again. See if that fixes it. And until then, take care.
I'll take care, all right? Nothing but love for you. Nothing but love for you. You think they have any clue what's about to happen to them?
Oh, not a chance in hell. Good night.